Okay, and we are live on Facebook. Hey everyone, it's Morna here. I'm joined by the amazing Janice Amirault, and we are live, and I'm going to get us live into the Revolutionary Woman group, and then we will be good to go. I've got my little way of doing this now down pat. I love how Facebook always gives the opportunity to learn and grow and do workarounds every time. Every time it changes things. The Love Seed Live with Morna and Janice. Okay, we are good to go. Welcome everyone. I am going to introduce the amazing Janice to you. And Janice is a holistic nutritional consultant and cancer coach. Interest in wellness and healthy food preparation stems from her own personal wellness journey, which I'm super keen to talk about in a minute, Janice. One that took you from a debilitating illness to vibrant health via holistic methods. You became living proof that lifestyle choices, I so agree, can determine the outcome of our health and our future. You're on a mission to eradicate sugar addiction. I'm so keen to find out more about that. And educate women on a new approach to breaking up with sugar for good so that we can reach goals that we never imagined possible. Over the last decade, you've helped hundreds of women lose weight, look amazing, and live well by ditching sugar. And you transformed your own life by quitting sugar and bringing science-backed sugar-free approaches to women worldwide. And now you're educating women all over the world to do the same. Well, welcome, Janice. It's really cool to have you here in the Love Seat. For those of you joining in who don't know what the Love Seat is, it's our weekly check-in with community members of Revolutionary Woman Global. I'll get my words in a moment. We're coming out of a big heat wave here in BC. And actually, I haven't really eaten anything for the last few days, or very much. It's interesting how being in super hot weather can do that. And what I will say is that I've broken my coffee addiction in the last 3 days. So we ran out of coffee last Friday, and my naturopath has been begging me to give up the caffeine. And last Friday, the universe gave me an opportunity by running out in a heat wave. So I went cold turkey. It's day 4, and I think I've hit it. So Janice, welcome. I would love to kick off by hearing some of your own journey and how you came to see sugar as an addiction and how you transform your own health. So let's start there.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to the Love Seat. I love the name of this this idea, this amazing platform that you have here to discuss, to talk to people. And so how I started my journey and realized that sugar was the evil in my life, I guess, is well, you know, I love to bake. I was reading cookbooks when I was 10 years old, and I just love to eat sugar. I've obviously addicted all these years. And, but all of a sudden I became very, very ill, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I went to all kinds of doctors trying to find out what they could tell me, and saw specialists. And basically, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue, told I was lazy, just needed to exercise, and see you later. It was like a door was slammed shut in my face. So after I, wallowed in self-pity and got over myself, I thought, I am going to find out what's wrong with me. I was young, and I decided I wasn't going to live this way all of my life, only to worsen and become one of those people who's 50 plus years old, who can't walk and needs someone to help them. So I found somebody who helped identify what was wrong with me, and my journey back to health meant a huge shift in what I was eating. And that's when I had to come to terms with what Janice did before was not going to be what Janice was going to do now. So so that's when my journey started, and I chose to let go of sugar, and of course that meant all those pies and cakes, and cheesecake was my favorite, and all the baking that I did for any occasion, for no occasion, whatever. And
Right.
yeah, so that's how I started, and I saw the difference that that was making in me.
So let's pick up on that. What difference did it make, and how did you? And I'm just laughing. You might have seen my face there, but remember how I kicked off saying that I haven't had coffee since Friday? Well, my husband's been working on the coffee machine all morning, and look what just appeared in front of me.
I kind of thought that was what it was. That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
like that is ironic and hilarious. And I will just say I am allowed 1 cup a day. So,
There you
ladies
go.
and gentlemen, I'm going to drink it right before your eyes.
Good for you. Good for
But you
you.
know what? I'm going to enjoy it. And I think this is the difference between, for me and for me around, there's no question that I had an addiction to coffee. I mean, I was having 7, 8, 9 cups a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, my naturopath said 1 cup a day, which I don't think I could have just reduced to 1 cup a day. I think it was divine intervention that I've had this break.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be curious as to what this cup of coffee does, and when after I've drunk it, if I'm going to be a no coffee a day or a 1 coffee a day. But yeah, I'm curious, Janice, how did this start to impact your life, and
So
result?
talking about your coffee and how you're choosing to go with that 1 a day, that's really, you know, for me, when I went through this journey, I took food out of my diet, and with certain foods it was all or nothing, but with some it wasn't all or nothing. And I think it's really important for people, and I'm so glad that the coffee came upon your desk at the right time, because it doesn't have to be all or nothing with people. When I talk about sugar addiction, people will say, oh my God, I could never live without sugar. I would die. I'd rather not live if I didn't have any sugar. So it depends on what your goals are. For me, at that point where I couldn't, I was teaching cosmetology, I couldn't lift my arms up over my head long enough to dry my own hair, let alone show my students how to work, how to do their own job. So for me at that time, it was all or nothing. But as time went on, I realized that I could allow myself whatever I wanted, as long as I didn't go, you know, this everything in moderation, you know, that can really be misread. And so, or misdefined, because you have to, what I did and what I suggest for my clients is you have to make enough of a change to see a change. So,
okay, hang on. Let's just underscore that. You have to make enough of a change to see a change. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could have taken your 8 cups of coffee and turned it into 4, and you might have felt really, really different. Maybe you wouldn't have felt different. Maybe you would have had to go down to 1 to feel any difference. But that's what it's like, is for people, is to make enough of a change. And that's what I did. First of all, I took it out, and I noticed, first of all, because I couldn't walk up the stairs, I couldn't put my arms up. So the first thing I noticed was that I had more energy to be able to do the things that I used to do. And go ahead.
Can I pick up on this? I think this is, and I think, okay, our connection's fine. I think this is a piece that maybe folks misunderstand, because I have a couple of teens, and one with a chronic health condition, and we've done a lot of diet related stuff. So I totally get what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sugar is often seen as an energy giver.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So it's really curious. So I want to dive into the idea that when we give up sugar, we can actually have more energy.
Absolutely, because the sugar that I gave up wasn't the sugar that's naturally found in food. There's a big difference. Right now, everyone's talking about added sugar. And you'll hear people say, well, sugar is in everything. And most of those people don't realize that the sugar that they're eating is in a packaged product. It's not necessarily the sugar in the banana or the orange or the apple that we're talking about. Actually, it's not that. It's the added sugar. And a lot of people don't know that we don't need added sugar. It's we think we need it. We're told, or we grow up thinking we deserve it because we're rewarded with it from a very small age. And then we become addicted. And then when we have children, we give it to them, and we become grandparents, we give it to them. We give it to the kids because kids love sugar. Of course they do. They're addicted just like we are, or we were at that age. So when it comes to sugar, I'm talking about added sugar. I'm talking about the sugar in the crackers, in the chips, in all the goods.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think maybe people don't realize, and I'm a label reader because I do, for two reasons. My eldest, my 19-year-old, has anaphylaxis to peanuts. So from almost birth, we learned to read labels. She knows how to read labels. And when you start to actually read labels, oh my God, there's sugar in everything.
Yeah. That's why people are addicted to ketchup. The second and third ingredient is sugar.
And this is by design, isn't it? I mean, I have to say, like, this is by manufacturer's design to add sugar into, so we keep coming back.
Absolutely. The companies know, they've paid scientists billions of dollars to mix that combination of sugar, salt, and fat to keep us coming back for more.
And is this true? Maybe you do or don't know, but I heard, and in fact, I think it's my husband who keeps telling me this, there was a famous experiment with rats, and it turns out that cheesecake is the perfect combination of fat and sugar, and like the ultimate.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I liked the crust better, which is loaded with sugar, or the filling, or the topping, so yeah. And these hyper palatable foods are what's keeping people sick. And that's what was keeping me, that's what contributed to my demise. And because my body was so bogged down and so toxic, when toxins came in, which was what I had a heavy metal toxicity, I wasn't able to fight that off. So my body was so sick that it couldn't do its job properly. So sugar is definitely the culprit in all the diseases that we have right now, from type 2 diabetes to cancer to Crohn's to autoimmune. It's because we're eating, back in our great grandparents' day, I think they ate under 10 pounds of sugar a year, and now we're eating, I don't know what the figure is, but it's insane. It's enormous. Yeah.
It's true. And if I even think about my mother was more of a grandmother age, and both my parents were kind of depression era, and my mother made a lot of home cooked food, but none of it tasted like the processed crap that you would buy. And yes, she added sugar to stuff, but not in any way, shape, in the same kind of volume that that is in processed food. And I think it's interesting too that there's this idea, and maybe this is just something that I've noticed, but a mythology that it's harder to eat well, it takes more effort, whereas it seems to me that it's kind of the reverse.
Absolutely, it is the reverse. The thing is, we've grown so accustomed to what's available quickly. We walk into the supermarket, there's the ready-made food, it's packaged, it's cooked, and it's you can just open it and eat it, as opposed to taking, a very little time actually to prepare a meal at home. I remember a doctor I was listening to, he said, people will say they have no time to cook, but they'll spend 2 hours watching the cooking channel.
It's true. It's so interesting, isn't it?
So
Yeah, I've been learning a little bit. I I was going to say, I'm going to admit my watching the Food Channel stuff, but actually I've been watching a little bit of Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen for some reason. I don't know why. But what really fascinated me was just noticing him saying, right, you've got 20 minutes to make the meal. And then
Right.
20 minutes later, this amazing, freshly cooked, yes, they're adding a lot more butter and things to it than we would, but 20 minutes from scratch.
Yeah. And if you want to have some dinner made tomorrow, just cook twice as much. Doesn't take that much longer. And these are simple things, but getting back to added sugar, a lot of people don't realize that A, we don't need that added sugar, and B, the American and Canadian statistics, it's the same. The American recommendation, the AHA recommends no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. That's the top limit for women, 9 for men. And if you look at a piece of cake, a cookie, a breakfast cereal, a latte with sugar in it, you've surpassed those 6 teaspoons of sugar, no problem. And that's just for one item. How much are we getting all day? And sugar suppresses the immune system. So what's everyone worried about right now? Keeping your immune system strong. So, there's so many reasons to not eat this addictive poison. Yeah.
Oh, well, let's pick up on the sugar suppressing the immune system. And for me, so my eldest daughter has a pretty chronic autoimmune condition. And it's interesting with a teenager, because if it was just my choice, so we've been doing the autoimmune protocol. I don't know if you're familiar with that protocol. Yeah. For her as a teen, it's a little hit and miss. It's one of those cases where for her, my belief is that it is a little bit more black and white in terms of needing to stick to it, because for all kinds of various reasons. But again, sugar is, I want to say sugar is evil, because it really, not nature's sugar, but the amount of sugar that we have in our food system. When I look at the difference in her health when she's purely on the protocol, and then when the teenager roars out and the things get eaten, that the contrast is just so unbelievably incredible, how it immediately has a detrimental effect. And then what I personally know about autoimmune is that it's compounding. And so, I'm curious. It's interesting for those folks, and I guess what I'm getting to is maybe a message to folks who may be tuning in. And actually, if you are tuning in live, I have no idea. I apologize because of this whole Facebook thing. I'll come to your comments afterwards. But I know lots of people watch the replay. So if you've got questions for Janice, please ask them. But in particular, if you're someone who's watching, or if there's somebody who's watching Janice who's just really at a low, they've been on the sugar train, they've maybe got other things developing in their body, they're where you were with no energy. What can they begin to do? And actually, the question I really want to ask you is, what's the light at the end of the tunnel for people if they go on the journey of eliminating sugar?
They can, I always say, and it's no word of a lie. When I was going through my challenge, all I hoped for was to get to the point of health that I had before I was sick.
Right.
And now on the other side of that, that wasn't enough. I reach a level of health that I never imagined possible. And that's what is on the other side of breaking these addictions, because we're living a mediocre life. We are living accepting that we feel draggy in the morning, or that we have no energy at mid-afternoon, or we can't, we're not sleeping well. We're living with these things and it's not normal, and we've accepted them. And as we get older, it's even worse, because then we think, oh, it's my age, or my knees are bad, or I have arthritis. It's all comes down to our food choices. We are meant to thrive. We are meant to feel like we're jump out of bed and can do anything. And I personally did that. After I went through this journey, I had 2 really serious problems. And on the other side of that, I challenged myself. I was finally able to exercise and meet or achieve physical goals I never imagined. I did 2 triathlons, and
girl.
I've run a half marathon. I've done some dragon boat racing. I never in my wildest dreams imagined I could do that. And I know it's because of my diet, because I never would have done that before. I feel better now than I did in my 20s. And, it's all because of a change of lifestyle. So that is the promise. That is the promise. Yeah.
That makes me so excited. And I want to pick up on, there's a little bit of shakiness in the internet connection. I want to pick up on this idea that I think so many of us, especially in the Western world, are just actually don't realize how we could feel.
Yeah. We're numb.
We're numb. And
People
there's
this,
people are numbed out, and there is an acceptance, like you're saying. I never thought about it in this way, but you're dead right. Pardon the pun. Right. I mean, we have this acceptance of a level of health that is not what we're designed, it's not our human design. No. And so I think that often so many of us go down the line of pharmaceutical interventions to attempt to rev up these systems that are no longer working, which of course leads to more and more, and that kind of cascade effect that ends up happening within our bodies. Whereas, and it's so fascinating to me, because just at a logic level, at a pure logic level, it seems so logical that what we put into our body creates who we are.
That's right. Yeah.
And yet, our dominant medical systems really have very little recognition of this. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious about that, Janice. What's your take on that?
Well, I think it's a form of, the first word I want to use, I don't know if I should. I think Please. It's brainwashing. I think it's brainwashing. Yeah, because it wasn't like that in my great grandmother's day. It wasn't like that right. But all of a sudden, things changed from going out and foraging and getting first of all, natural food existed back then, where now it's all genetically modified and toxic. Somewhere along the way, we had medication come into play. You can still have this illness, but take this medication, and you don't have to do anything about it. So there's this concept that we can still do what we're doing, and we can manage it. If your blood pressure is high and you're managing it with medication, you've got high blood pressure. Your body has high blood pressure. That's causing other problems, and managing it, keeping it at a certain level for a reader is it's good, it's important, but you'll always have that problem. Where if you change your diet, you don't need to have that problem anymore. The same as type 2 diabetes, the same as Crohn's, the same as so many things. You can live well even if you have a condition, if you change your diet. And you mentioned somewhere along the way, what can you do to start that? Where can you start? And I say, do a kitchen makeover. I say, clean out your fridge, clean out your cupboards, toss it out or eat it up, or, take it to the office or whatever, and then restock. Because if you have good food in your house, you'll eat good food, at least in your house. And then the temptations will be less and less, because you'll be making food that is real And when you're out, if you have that on occasion, that's kind of like that 80-20 rule, you'll feel so much better. So that's the way that I would approach it. If someone doesn't know what to do, of course, they should hire me and I'll take care
of course.
them.
Yeah,
That's right. And but I'm going to tell them or ask them to do just what I said. Have a look, take stock, and see what's going on. Where is it coming from? And it's, when we think of sugar, it's not just that white stuff. It's the honey, it's the maple syrup, and it's all the refined carbohydrates. It's that white refined bread, that pasta, all of those, the ingredients that are in those favorite treats of ours, those, even if it's not sugar in a biscuit, because refined carbohydrates basically are like eating sugar. And that's the second part of the addiction. So it's not just that white sugar or a sugar substitute. It is also the refined carbohydrates that we are eating in so large volumes nowadays.
Well, and we actually have a few minutes left because I just forgot that we started over time because I don't want to drop this. It's too fascinating.
Yeah.
You can obviously hear my accent. My family's from New Zealand, and we actually moved to America. We're in BC now, but we spent 2016. We moved to America for a year, and that is when my eldest daughter's autoimmune illness was triggered after about 3 months of consuming American food.
Wow.
And it's really interesting. We could all eat bread in New Zealand, no problem. We can't eat American bread.
No, I do that a lot.
Yeah, and it was just so interesting to see the dramatic kind of turn. And when I investigated autoimmune, I kind of discovered that, there's the genetic component, there's the environmental component. Obviously, the stress of moving, I think, also was a contributing factor. And then the diet was kind of this triple whammy of activating this thing that may have stayed. It's been interesting as I talk to people who know about her particular autoimmune, they're like, I think I had some version of it when I was younger, but my life choices precluded it,
That's great. Yeah.
And
if I can add something you might want to investigate, there's a theory out there, and it's been being researched, is when it comes to the bread and the white refined products, is it actually the gluten, or is it the glyphosate that's in?
I think it's the glyphosate. Yeah. I don't know why I'm whispering, because it feels like a dirty secret. I think it's the second one.
Yeah. So it's a problem, because unless you're making your own and getting really pure ingredients, you're getting way too much of that.
Yeah. Actually, this is just a weird little aside. What's your thinking on sourdough bread, homemade sourdough? What do you think?
I think it's good if you have good ingredients, and I think it's really important not to eat a whole loaf at a time, like I would.
Yeah, that's what I meant, with the butter and
yeah. If I have bread around, so it's a better option for sure. But there, that's one of the things. It's kind of like the coffee, Maura. Then maybe it's everything in moderation, and what is your limit on that particular thing?
Yeah, and let's, I want to kind of segue in a moment into letting folks know how they can get in touch with you, because one thing I will say for sure is that often these challenging journeys are more fun and work better when you've got somebody in your corner who knows what they're doing and can help you work through it. If we really think about sugar as an addiction, and I believe that it is as well, I understand how it works in our systems. And I would say, the analogy I'm thinking, imagine if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, but everywhere you go, there are cigarettes for sale in every aisle of the supermarket.
And if you have a puff, you usually will have a whole pack. Right. And that's the challenge with sugar, especially in the beginning, until you can get your head around it.
Yeah, and also it's so part of the work that I do is I'm a multiple brains coach, and so I've done a lot of study around our gut brain, our heart brain, and this brain that we have up here. And it's so fascinating to learn how our gut brain works, and our microbiome, and how whatever you're feeding your microbiome saying, thank you, I'd like more of that. Thank you, I'd like more of that.
Yes.
And so I think that working with somebody like you is almost essential, because if you were trying to ditch any other addiction, and I know we don't put sugar in the same category, but I would put it right up there with any other hardcore drug addiction,
We
alcohol.
should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unlike, many drugs, and I wouldn't say alcohol is the same because you could buy it anywhere. We don't need alcohol to survive, but we need food. And we are in such an over-processed food environment. I think it's almost essential to have somebody walk alongside you. So if folks are watching today, and if you're recognizing in yourself that it's time to make a change, also if you're a person who's concerned with your immune health, especially at this time on the planet, I will say too, Janice, picking up on what you've said, I think our world governments have also missed an opportunity here to educate people on how to be healthy. I don't think that's actually what governments are interested in doing, but the ideal time because it's just the food production system, particularly in the West, is so. There's so much going on behind the scenes in terms of what ends up in our stores and on our plates.
It's been bought out.
It's been bought out, and it's been bought out. So, if you want someone in your corner, Janice, how can folks find you, and what are you offering right now in terms of support?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share my contact details. And I do have a 12-week one-on-one coaching program that is new. And if you'd like some information about that, then I can be reached on Facebook, Janice Inspiring Change. My website is janiceinspiringchange.com, and my email address is janice@janiceinspiringchange.com.
Thanks, Janice, and I would love it. I'll pop your link to you in Messenger, just showing you where this video is, because actually also, so we're going to be skimming these videos and popping them on YouTube, like the whole Love Seat series. So we'll get information so that they can go with you. Let's wrap up with, what is your number one tip for somebody who is watching this and, we've overhauled our pantry. I'm going to ask you this question. What should I have for breakfast tomorrow morning?
Oh my goodness. I think that's fantastic. What I'd like you to have is, and if you're not used to eating seeds, then you can start slow, but I'd like you to have some flax seeds, some pumpkin seeds, and some chia seeds. You can make a smoothie with it, grind them up, put them in a smoothie with some plant-based milk that has no sugar in it, some cinnamon, maybe a little bit of fruit, some hemp hearts, and make a smoothie, and you will be full all morning long. You won't have that sugar crash at 10 o'clock looking for the bagel or the donut or the sweetened latte, and that will take care of you. And you will notice after a week or so or sooner that, and this is a really strange way to end this, you will notice a big difference in your bowel habits.
I was going to say, you're going to mention poop at the end. I love it. I love it. And actually, that's a great way to finish, because if you want to know how your health is, like, have a look in the toilet. Like, seriously. Yeah.
You're fantastic. I think we must have been sisters, separated birth or something. I think we're on the same page. Yeah.
I think we're on the same page, and you've really actually helped me also reflect on how when life gets busy and I get onto autopilot, how these things can sneak in. And I'm going to have a chat with our family and go and have a look through the cupboards. Thank you so much, Janice. What an amazing chat. And I'm going to sign us off today live. And I would love it if you could pop your links. And if you want to reach out to Janice, then I highly encourage it, because you know, what I'll say through my lens as someone who works with, you know, people who are leading change across the planet, if you don't have your health when you're trying to do it, all we're doing is perpetuating more insanity and ill health on the planet. Like, we have to show up vibrant, and it's pretty urgent that we do, because we've got some work to do on the planet. So
Right. Yeah.
thank you so much, Janice.
Thank you. Thank you.